Welcome back to the Weekend Warrior Show Recap Podcast. I'm Ty from the Unemployed Architects. So this week I just had a couple shows. I had Friday night I played at Stage Left in DeKalb, and then I actually didn't have a Saturday night show, and I ended up playing Tuesday night at the Stable in Bloomington. So yeah, it was a slower weekend in a lot of ways. So I don't know. I get kind of finicky about that kind of stuff, or anxious. Don't really like having days off. And yeah, as I mentioned last podcast, I had an opportunity to play at the Castle opening for Tim Reynolds, and I just wish that would have been on that Saturday, because I could have worked. That would have worked out perfect. But it is what it is, you know. It can't win them all, and just hope that the next time that they need somebody, I will be available. So Friday at DeKalb, it was a longer drive than I was, like 2 hours-ish up north, and parking there was not good. I had to carry all my gear like across the street on a very busy street, and very cold. And when I got there was like nobody. It was like a bar on the left half of the building, and there was a wall that separated kind of more there's another littler bar, and then they had the stage for the live music and all that. And I don't know, everybody there was very pleasant right when I walked into the door. The staff was great, and the bartender was great, and got all sound checked, and there was like one guy in there, and he was like, "Do you know any Tyler Childers?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do know one Tyler Childers tune," and I played it, and he was a fan, I think. After that, he was pretty pumped. So even though the one I cover is not a popular Childers tune, because it's called All Yorn, it's a really cool tune, and different, you know, not necessarily his main style, I would say, but the lyrics in it are just so good. I mean, the music and the melody's good too, but those there's like this, there's a few lines in it that are just, I don't know, just make me happy, I guess. The my road dog door deal dream, it was like a tongue twister, a lot of alliteration, and I don't know, it's about being a traveling musician too, so obviously I can relate to a lot of it. But anyway, so after that, and then that was just my sound check essentially, so I put on a bunch of Childers, just a playlist that I figured he would get a kick out of. And then a big table came in, and they definitely weren't there to see me by any means, but it was a big table, and they were kind of bobbing, you know. It was really far in the back, so it was like a lot of distance. And then the bar started to fill out a little bit, and then there were a couple tables that kind of got closer, and then I got another Tyler Childers request even later in the night, and I ended up and just played the same one that I'd already played. But I waited a while till the guy that heard it in soundcheck left. I don't like doing that. I don't know why. It's just like a pet peeve of mine, kind of. But when the opportunity's there to make a crowd happy, it's hard to say no. But yeah, so a couple tables, and then I found out one of the tables actually came there specifically to see me, because they looked me up and everything, and they stayed for a very long time and were very into it. And there was another table, some a little bit older than me people that I don't think were, I think they just happened upon the show, but seemed pretty into it. And there were a couple other tables around the stage that had a few people, and I was on. I'd been played very well, and I feel like it was just a solid show. Everything surrounding it wasn't necessarily great, but just like I said, the 2-hour drive in the cold, sometimes those drives, you're just in a car by yourself, and then after, I didn't use my in-ears. I haven't been using my in-ears lately, which is probably a mistake, but sometimes it just sounds so good. You just want to hear the actual music. And I blew an amp that night too, which was a bummer. Even though I kind of MacGyvered something real quick and made it fine, but my kick drum amp and my bass amp, so I had to I've been reconfiguring all my stuff to make it work without that. But man, my stomach is growling. I'm hungry. I've been fasting because I've been eating so bad lately. Last weekend was not great, and so I lost 10 pounds, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna take advantage, and then I lost 5 more pounds because I was fasting all the time, and then it seems like I put the 5 pounds back on very easily, just from one weekend. I don't know how that works. So long to lose weight sometimes, and then watching what I'm eating and stuff, and then I went off the rails. But anyway, so I don't know. I got good feedback from the crowd, got good feedback from the staff, and that was, through a booking agency called United Talent Coordinators. So I'm really hoping that they at least hear what I did and how I did, and we'll book some more shows for me, because that would be great and very beneficial for me, obviously, to not have to really just work on that calendar. I shouldn't say this, but I got 13 shows in February, which might be my busiest February I've ever had. Of course, a lot of them are in Bloomington, which is probably a mistake because you don't want to overplay certain areas and stuff. And I definitely do that because it makes your draw be a lot lower. But I just freak out about not having enough shows. I don't have every weekend date filled. And then I get this Tuesday residency thing that kind of falls in my lap in a good way. And I picked up 3 shows in that last week before February. And, I feel good about that. But now it's I got, I think, 3 or 4 dates open in March. And it just, lots open in April. It's I send out so many emails. And I trying to stay booked. That's the goal. But it's not. People who think that I just get asked to do shows and just play the ones I get asked to do, it's not how it works. That does happen. I mean, I get asked to do shows that I can't even do because I'm already booked, like this one on Friday for Tim Reynolds. But it's just a lot. I always tell people it's a lot like Dunder Mifflin at the office. It's you're selling paper, but the paper at least is something that people need. Live music, I don't know if need is the right word. It's good, and some places really appreciate it. But and instead of the paper, of course, it's me that I'm selling. So to be able to entertain a crowd for 3 to 4 hours in a night. And so, of course, if they say, if you're trying to sell paper, it would be okay, they don't want paper. But, of course, it's hard to not take personally sometimes. A lot of the time, you just don't hear anything back. So, you hit these places up over and over again, and you just don't hear anything back. So then what I try to do is just, look for new places, because it's a waste of time to really, focus on these, because there are certain markers places that you've been trying so hard to get into, and a lot of your colleagues or contemporary artists or people that are a couple levels up from where you're kind of at play at these places, and you're I can't, I need to get in there, I need to be one of their regulars. And you find out over time that a lot of time when you do get into these places, it's just another small dive bar. It's not this life altering event when you get these gigs. But I still get really caught up in that sometimes, and I have to tell myself okay, just don't focus on. I mean, they're not giving you any energy or love back, so let's find a place that will. Let's focus on the places that already do that. And I don't know. I mean, it works better that way, but you still have kind of that thing in the back of your head where you're like, I wish I could play at that place. I wish I could play at that place. Why does he get to play here? Why does, And I mean, most of the time it's rightful. The people that I'm, striving to play like at similar places, I think that they're great musicians, and I would hope to be considered a contemporary or some up and comer that will turn into maybe something like that someday. But anyway, I digress. I don't know where I was really going. I guess I got the Tuesday show that I haven't talked about at the stable. Bottom line of Tuesday was it was a snowstorm. Not necessarily while I was playing, but we were supposed to get at least 6 inches, which we did, I think, when we woke up Wednesday. And it scared people, ultimately. I think that's what I'm trying to say, is there were probably anywhere from 4 to 12 people in the bar at a given time when I played. And I talked to the guy who booked it and the owner, who they were saying, maybe we'll cancel it. I don't know what we should do. And I was like, well, I'll just come and play. If people show up, I'll play all night. If they don't, I'll cut it short at 8 or 9 o'clock. And I just kept playing because people kept being there and drinking a little bit. It wasn't a big night by any means. And as I was saying, the weather, I think, definitely scared people away. But I sounded great, though, of course. People were there. I probably, maybe that's just me telling myself that I sounded great. I don't really know. Maybe it's a mental thing where it's if nobody's there, I can succumb to my ego and be like, well, nobody can say yay or nay on it. So I think but who knows? I thought I sounded good. I thought I played very well, and it was still fun, even though it was not many people. And I just ended up and just did it for tips and made good tips for the amount of people that were there. And so now I'm going to do an extra one in March, is the way we kind of worked it out. So can't control the weather. That's the half of the name of the game. And February, for sure. February is always such a rough month, which is wild that I have so many shows. It is a hard month to drive around, and my windshield wipers keep breaking for some reason. But anyway, so that was the shows this weekend. Not anything too crazy. I think both of them went very well, and I had a good time at both, and they were satisfying. That's what I needed. I needed something to, I don't know. I get jaded sometimes playing a lot, and then and a lot of that, I think, is I don't get to the point of feeling like it sounded good, and so I do all this work, and then the show itself isn't amazing or anything. But then this last weekend, I didn't have as many shows, but the two that I did have, I felt like it sounded good, so it just was a feeling of relief, and makes me feel heard, I guess, in some weird sort of way. But anyway, so that's it. This next week's gonna be wild, because I played the Tuesday show, and then I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday shows, so that'll be pretty intense. I'm at the Cellar Friday. I'm at Poor Bros in Champaign on Saturday, and Sunday I'm playing at a country club a little north of Peoria called Arrowhead Country Club. So that'll be what I'm talking about next week. So as always, I appreciate anybody who takes the time to listen, and I will talk to you next time. Have a good one. Bye.